Good morning, everybody. Welcome to City Hall, welcome to Council Chambers, and welcome to a meeting of the Los Angeles City Council for today, Tuesday, October 26, 2004. The City Council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Meetings are open to the public, and we do invite you to join us. For members of the public unable to attend council meetings, we can be viewed live on your cable station, Channel 35. We can also be viewed live via webcast from the city's homepage or heard via council phone. It is now 10:25, nearly, and we have 9 members present, one shy of a quorum, but we also have a couple of presentations set for today. Let me begin by recognizing Councilmember Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. Good morning, buenos dias, colleagues. Today's a special day. We have an individual by the name of Ann Gianni. I'd like to bring her up. Thank you, Ann. Ann Gianni is very special. She's worked with the city for several years, and for me, she has been one of those unsung heroes. Ann Gianni began her career with the City of LA on January 18th, 1973 at the Watts Library as a student librarian, and in 1976 was promoted to children's librarian for the Center for the Inner City Bookmobile, where Ann provided services to Nickerson Gardens, Ramona Gardens, Chinatown, San Pedro, and various communities. In 1979, Ann became senior librarian, and that year was invited to be visiting delegate to President Carter's White House Conference on Library and Information Services. Ann was also active in ASME Local 2226, where she served as steward and eventually became president. She also served on the Board of Council and was elected as alternate to the National Board of the Coalition of Labor Union Women. And in 1983, Ann became Senior Administrative Assistant in the Rent Stabilization Division in the Community Development Department. In 1984, she joined the Cultural Affairs Department, where she helped produce Berlin to Broadway, which received 5 Drama Critic Awards. In 1988, she joined the Harbor Department, where she managed the Cabrillo Marina. In 1990, Ann returned to the Cultural Affairs Department, an Assistant General Manager, where she helped the Cultural Affairs Department become the first governmental agency to get funds into the community after the civil unrest of 1992. And she left Cultural Affairs to head the Youth Fair Chance demonstration project funded by the Department of Labor. In 1997, Ann started up the new Financial Management Division in the Bureau of Sanitation. In 2000, Ann was appointed the Director of the Workforce Development Division in the Community Development Department. All these accomplishments, colleagues, have been tremendous. When I met her, she came in and literally put into place a structure for the Youth Fair Chance program. It's a relatively new program, but it concentrated efforts in the part of the city and the district that essentially had very little or no infrastructure when it came to social services, job training, bringing in the private sector. It was her stewardship, her ability to organize, bring together a lot of this energy into one form that produced a multiplicity of benefits. And she always did it with a smile. She did it with a demeanor that brought confidence, that brought people together. And it's just the type of accomplishments that I wish if we can clone her, we could multiply Ann 1,000 times. But Ann, I just want to, I have the honor and the pleasure in providing to you a resolution. Many of the whereases I've spoken to already, but a heartfelt thanks. We're going to miss you. I hope you have a great time in your retirement. But this resolution is signed by every council member as well as our city clerk, and we want to make sure that the mayor recognizes, and he has signed this resolution as well, of the great talent and experience that we've had the opportunity to benefit from. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, from all those communities, all those kids, all those families that have benefited from your hard work. I know there have been many, many hours, many, many nights, but probably sleepless for you with all these challenges, but I believe it's been well worth it, given all the great programs and products you've produced over the years. Thank you, Ann, for all your hard work. I'd like to present this to you and Gianni for your hard work.
Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and congratulations, Ann. And thank you, Mr. Reyes, for honoring her. It was great working together on workforce development stuff. I know my staff very much enjoyed working with you as well. And I just want to say I'm blown away, and I didn't know your entire history here in the city. I was writing down some of them and I missed them, but sanitation, the port, CDD, cultural affairs. I don't know if anybody's had that sort of breadth of different departments. I think it says a lot about who you are, that you're able to go from one to the other. Oftentimes, it's just enough to try to go deeply into positions of authority within one single department, but to do it among so many different departments is a real testament, and I know the city will miss you a lot and will be worse off for you not being around here, but congratulations nevertheless.
Thank you. In 30 years, a lot happens to a person, some good, some bad. While I've been enjoying the good and enduring the bad, never once did I regret being an employee for the City of Los Angeles. Public sector provides essential threads in the fabric of every community, and I have been very pleased and very satisfied to have been able to contribute to the sustenance of those threads. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, let's give it up. Thank you, Ann. No? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Cardenas, Garcetti, Gruel, Hahn, Labange, Ludlow, Miskowski, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Smith, Villaraigosa, Weinstein, Padilla, 11 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. The council is officially in session. Members, this is Tuesday, the first meeting of the week, as is customary. Let's have Councilmember Labange lead us in our salute to the flag.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Let's all to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States of America on this date, 1 week before election. Place your right hand over your heart. Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Madam Clerk, first order of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Garcetti moves and Mr. Zine seconds.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Smith moves and Ms. Hahn seconds.
Mr. President, this is the time for comments from the public on items not on council's agenda.
Let's go through the agenda and dispense with consent items, and then we'll come back to general public comment.
First items on council's agenda, items noticed for public hearing. Items 1 through 4 are protest against various street vacations, and I believe council has cards on items 2 and 3.
We do have cards on items 2 and 3. We'll call those special to hear from members of the public. On items 1 and 4, we do not have requests from members of the public to address the council. Public hearings are open and closed on items 1 and 4. Members wishing to call either of these special? 1 and 4. Seeing none, let's open the roll on those items, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those are approved. Next item, please.
Next items are items for which public hearings have been held, items 5 through 14.
Members, items 5 through 14 now before us. Public hearings have been held in committee. A motion from the floor would be required to reopen the public hearing. Seeing no such motion, any specials? Mr. Cardenas.
I'd like to ask that we continue item number 5 for 3 weeks.
Okay, members request to continue item 5 for 3 weeks. That'll bring us to November 16th. Without objection, so ordered. Leaving items 6 through 14. Mr. Zine? Any specials? There's no request for specials. Madam Clerk, please open the roll on items 6 through 14. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
Those are approved. Next items, please.
Next items are items for public hearings have not been held, items 15 through 41.
And we do have cards on items 37 and 38. We'll call those matters special to hear from members of the public. On the balance of the items, I do not have requests from members of the public to address the council. Public hearings are open and closed. Specials, Mr. Zine.
Item number 33, I'll have a substitute motion on that.
Okay, has that been circulated?
It's to the clerk, so we'll call it special for now.
Okay. Item 33, called special by Mr. Zine. Other specials, 15 through 41? Any other specials? Seeing none, let's open the roll on the balance of the items, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
Those are approved. Items 15 through 19 are ordinances and do carry over for a second reading. Next item, please.
That would take council back to the items called special and to public comment.
Okay, let's turn now to general public comment for today's meeting. The clerk would please put up a clock. And the council calls forward at this time Ms. Volinda Wright, followed by Mr. Flippin, Ivan, I'm not sure about the first name, Nikki Postolu, Candido Mares, Eves Brown, Hazel Gant, John Bush, Olidian Outland. Guys, come forward. This is your time. You may want to form a line behind the podium. That's going to expedite the public hearing. Sandra Miranda, Daniel Schroeder.
We need to get more copies. Yeah, we need more copies. I gave some out and we can get them. Here we go. So, here.
Ma'am, go ahead, please.
First of all, I want to thank you, council members. We are here today as individuals, city workers, and city vendors.
Can
and
you
I'd
give
like
us your
to-
name, please? Your
Pardon?
name?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name's Sandra Miranda. And we are here as city workers and city vendors to tell our story. So I'm going to read something to you guys. Let's try to make some extra copies to get circulated. Look deep into our eyes. We are the American workers, the backbone of this country. You see, Mayor and council members, we are all gathered here as individuals, as city workers and city vendors to tell our story, to let you know we make up the city and DWP. If it was not for us, the American workers across the USA, there would not be a city of Los Angeles or the USA. How easily to forget that people matter. Without people, you have nothing. People are your greatest asset. We are here to tell our story of discrimination, retaliation, and having our civil rights taken away. All motivated by power, money, and greed. We have many years working for the city. As city workers and city vendors doing what was right for the city of Los Angeles. We are also taxpayers. Management has caused a great deal of pain and suffering to us as individuals and to our loved ones. It is shameful to have to turn to our children to tell them that our rights don't matter anymore, that money matters. It is a very sad day in America to be treated unfairly, to take the abuse of management, knowingly violating our civil rights and affirmative action. It doesn't matter what color you are, only if you fall into the category of a minority. You are to be treated as such. I once had an old Caucasian woman who never knew what discrimination was or had her civil rights been taken away until she reached old age. Management needs to be held accountable for their actions. Due to the downsizing of DWP, we have become extraordinary, and I say extraordinary, employees doing the job of 5 to 20 people, wearing many different hats. Management should be giving us awards, trophies, and accommodations. Instead, they put investigators on us to follow us, to fire us, to push small minority businesses out,
Ma'am.
to discriminate against the American workers. This is no longer about DWP. This is about all of us coming together to fight back, to take back our civil rights, so that other city workers and the American workers and minorities will not have this happen to them. We are America.
Thank you, ma'am. I want to give other members
With Great Lakes
an opportunity to
Management
speak as
has
well.
not went. With Great Lakes Management has went to protect one sole source vendor. We as individual city workers done what was right. We bought from all vendors, minority and small businesses and women-owned and others, not to monopolize or to buy only from one, but to treat all vendors fairly.
Ma'am, do we want to hear from the other speakers as well?
Pardon?
You have a lot of people here with you. Are you speaking on behalf of the whole group,
Yes,
or are we
I
going to hear
am.
from everybody?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
This seems to be derived from one individual upper manager and one individual middle manager. We want to thank council for looking into the sole sourcing and investigation on city employees. We thank you sincerely for that. The reason that we are here is because management is notorious for giving bogus reports. We want the truth to be told to our leaders, for them not to sell you propaganda, as we were afraid of management and one particular manager. They are already twisting the story and providing information to the one source vendor to use against their own city workers. To say that we, our city workers, are wrong and that small minority and owned businesses cannot compete. They cannot compete with one source vendor. Can I finish this? For they are selling in volume thousands of cases per month, and the small minority businesses and other vendors are only selling for 3 to 4 cases a month. To say that the small vendors are overcharging when they are not, when they are only trying to feed their families, they cannot compete with someone who has a mega contract at $11 million a year, who has a bogus catalog. If anybody is overcharging, they are overcharging for the volume they have. To say that city employees are receiving kickbacks from the small minority and women businesses is ludicrous. The only thing we are guilty of is helping the minority vendors and small businesses.
Ma'am, let me ask you to conclude, please, because there are other speakers on other issues.
Hi, I'm Nikki Postelou with Omega.
Into the microphone, please. We can't hear you.
I'm Nikki Postelou with Omega Industrial Supply.
Marcy Stark, American Industrial Supply.
There are a couple more of us here, but Marcy and I are the ones that are just going to spend maybe a moment addressing the council. We are 2 of those very small vendors that Sandra was speaking about. I know Omega has been doing business with the city for probably a good 7 years now, and AIS, God.
We've been in business for 20 years in the city of Los Angeles.
Omega is small enough to be a certified California small business as well, and I think AIS is as well. All these years, we've gotten along side by side with the mega contracts as Empire is. Purchasing, they've always gotten their share. The rest of us have always gotten a piece of that pie as well, and we've been able to move forward just fine. I would say since the last spring, maybe April or May, when The mega contract took a major effect like I'd never seen before. My personal sales have gone down almost in half. That's been pretty devastating to me, but that's how life goes. But what I don't understand as a citizen of Los Angeles, born and raised in this city, is how all these years we've gotten along just fine. Everyone has gotten their piece. There's been no problem at all. Why all of a sudden it changed? We are a woman-owned business as well. We just would like to know how we can move back in so we can also do business again with DWP and LAX and a lot of the other city organizations out there. If we can just get some direction with that, I'm sure we'd really appreciate it. I want my kids to be able to stay here in the city, but if things keep going the way they are, I don't quite know what I'm going to do. So.
Thank you.
All we're asking is for our piece of the pie. I mean, we're direct competitors and we're sharing it, and we don't understand why. There's dozens of us out there, and we've all been able to share and coexist and just get a little piece, and that's all we're asking for.
Okay, and just so that everybody understands, we're in general public comment, and state law prohibits us from acting on anything today that you're bringing to our attention. But you've done an effective job of bringing something to our attention, and I have a feeling that we're going to be looking into this. Go ahead. Your name,
Good morning, Council. My name is Oladine Outland. I'd like to give all praises to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I'm here on behalf of my co-workers. We just here to stand up for ourselves. We want to be treated fairly. We want to be treated equal. We want to be treated with respect, and with the same respect and dignity that we put into our work. We're very hard workers. I speak for them as well as myself. We work hard at what we do. We love our job. And all we're here for is to stand up for ourselves and ask that we be recognized and be treated fairly and equal as others. Thank you.
My name's Louis Trevino. I'm an employee with Department of Water and Power. I've been with them 3 years as a custodian. And the custodial staff is very important with the city, and everyone needs us, and I think we need more support with management to hire in more employees to keep the staff running, to keep everything clean for the city workers. And I'm here to support everyone else here and hope something can be done about it, because I've been working pretty hard.
Candido, just two more, please, because we have people on other issues.
My name is Michael Gibson. I've been working for the Department of Water and Power for 2 years. All I have to say is Sandra Miranda is a good person and a good supervisor. Thank you.
My name is John Bush. I've spoken here before, and many of you from the independent councils, you've heard many things about the contracts and such. Today, I'm here to plead to you. December 3rd, the contract expires. It's up for renewal. Please, look at these people. Listen to what they're telling you. Listen to the way they've been treated. Do not let this contract go another year and have them have to suffer with this again. Please get something together, get a committee together, and look at this contract. Get people in there that understand it and can explain to you the wrongdoings in this contract. Do not let it go another year for their sake.
Good morning. My name is Hazel Gant. I've been working for the department almost 28 years. The last few years I've been working under ISS, and they work as a group. I feel like I belong. All the other time, I didn't feel like I was part of the department. This group, we work together. They train us. They talk to us about everything. This is like a team, and we all help one another. If we don't understand anything, we talk to our bosses. They talk to us. The ones I had before wasn't like that. This is a team. We enjoy working together. We have meetings and discuss everything. So don't tear it apart. It took a long time to get it where it is. And I'll be retiring soon. And this makes me want to stay a little longer because I feel like I belong. Before I didn't. And this is an important group. Thank you.
Mr. Council Member, members, thank you very much for allowing us this time. When you first set up the Small Local Business Advisory Committee, it was supposed to be something very positive. It was supposed to take a look at mega contracts and how possibly we might be able to filter some of that money down to smaller business. The opposite has taken place. What has happened is they've taken away business from small businesses, especially from female-owned businesses, and placed it in contracts, and there's so much fraud that's going on there. It is absolutely unbelievable. But along with that, they have punished city workers for speaking out and saying that I would rather have product A than product B. And they're told you're going to accept product B. And why do we have managers walking around with the contracts and saying you must buy from this contract when these products are no good, they're hazardous, and they're products that have been shipped out of country, brought back in, and resold to this city? Mr. President, council members, we have a cancer here, and it's up to you to fix that. I plead with you and with Mayor Hahn to please, enough is enough. This has to stop. Too many people have suffered. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Valinda Wright still here? Your name, sir?
Hello, my name is Daniel Schrader. There's an old saying, a fish stinks from its head. I don't see any disgruntled work employees here. I see impassioned messengers and concerned city employees giving you valuable and important information on how your agents are managing this city's resources. It is sad for me to see these employees have to bring these issues to you here in your chambers. But it clearly indicates that your agents have turned a blind eye, a deaf ear, and are resolute in keeping it that way. The custodians are here to tell you you can't keep sweeping mismanagement under the rug. The landscapers and gardeners are here to tell you the ground cover is full of weeds. Have you read anything other than the Los Angeles Times? DWP accident and injury rate is twice the national average for a multiple utility. We gave a building infested with mold to the school district. The building in Pasadena is way over budget. 35,000 city employees and only a handful have been terminated in the last 12 months. You have a room full of people that claim they have been harassed, bullied, and intimidated. We are going through general managers and board members like Kleenex. To me, these are indicators of systemic mismanagement and political problems, not disgruntled workers. We are taking money out of the DWP without a thought about what is required to maintain water and power infrastructure over the long term, long after your terms in office. These indicators tell me before raising or spending any money on anything, we need to demonstrate that we can manage what we have. I would like to know what you have done to hold your appointed agents properly accountable for these high-level system problems. These managers do not need retraining. They are professional attorneys and managers. They need to be held accountable. Stop them from shooting these messengers. We don't need a committee. We need one of you to take some time to look and take action. If you have trouble finding or following the disciplinary manual, just give me a call. This is my second visit. I would be more than happy to help you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And you know what, before the next speaker comes up, because I know it's on the same issue, Councilmember Cardenas, Chair of the Commerce Committee.
Yes, I'd like to first thank all of you for coming today, and also to thank all of you who've been working on this issue and bringing it to our attention, both in our offices and in our committee hearings as well. I wouldn't want the public to think that all of this important information that you're giving us is falling on deaf ears. It is not. Mr. Mares can attest to that. Many of your presenters can attest to that, because they have come and spoken to some of us council members in our offices, as well as in the Commerce Committee that has a jurisdiction over the Department of Water and Power on behalf of the council. In addition to that, we are not done yet, and we are going to continue, and we take these comments and this information very seriously. So once again, thank you.
And let me just read four more names. I think it's a Mr. or Miss Flippin, Eves Brown, John Leday, and Valinda Jo Wright. These are the last cards that I have for public comment. So if we can just keep it very, very brief. We also have a council agenda to get to.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mario Tenon. I'm a Department of Water and Power custodian I've been so for the last 2 years. And first of all, allow me to thank our supervisor, Sandra Miranda, for standing up for our rights and for all of the others who have done well in that particular regard. I want to thank her very much because it is truly without people like her that things could be a lot worse for us employees, and not just EWP employees, but working people in general. Now, thank you. Now, what else I would like to say is that when we come to work each day, we try to do the best job that we can for the people in whatever properties that we work in. But in order to do the best jobs that we can, in order to be at our best, we need to have an atmosphere that is conducive to that sort of thing. Which means for one thing, it helps to not have an atmosphere that is poisoned by paranoia because we're worried about who or what could be spying upon us or following us around at all times or looking to retaliate against us for whatever misstep we may or may not make. Not only that, but I also support the efforts of Ms. Miranda to allow small businesses, especially those owned by minorities and or by women, to sell our wares and to enable them to make a living for themselves and for their families.
Okay, let me ask you to conclude, please. We've been hearing from you guys for a while now.
Thank you, sir. And again, in closing, I support Ms. Miranda. Please, just enable us to do the best job that we can, and please, let's make the American dream a reality for all of us.
Thank you.
Not just for a few.
Good morning. My name is Ms. Sylvia Lynn Hawkins. I would say no on this proposal concerning Department of Water and Power and LAX. I believe that this contract must be canceled immediately, for there has been found Hussein insane money inside of many of the hotels that are located on Century Boulevard. They are only the owners of LAX and Department of Water and Power that are using this money illegally and the trade center money to demolish unfairly the LAX. I would say no on this contract for LAX because they don't have any benefit plan for their workers or any health plan for a retirement with the LAX.
Thank you, Ms. Hawkins.
They are firing them before the time.
Can you conclude, please, now?
I will conclude. They are firing them before the time as if they are retiring with the company, and they are not. I'm very concerned concerning the money that has been found.
Thank
we
you.
cannot use trade center money.
Thank
Now
you.
let's build
Next speaker,
LAX.
please. Next speaker, please.
It would not happen.
Hi, my name's Joe Cena. I'm with Superco Products. I'm one of the small vendors and small businesses. I think the major problem here is this has been a lot of rhetoric, a lot of around the circles. We've been working on this now since the beginning of the year. I think the biggest problem you have right now is morale. You've got people working within the department that are scared to do anything. They're scared. They're afraid of their jobs. They're afraid of their supervisors because their supervisors are getting pounded on. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to us as a small business, and I need to feed my family. I'm down almost 60% of my business. The quality of the products they're getting doesn't work. When the work doesn't work, the morale goes down. They can't do their job. Thank you for your time.
My name is John Ledam with South End Janitorial Supplies. We have been in business over 43 years in the city of Los Angeles. We pay city taxes, and we are in the HUD zone. We're in the surplus area. We employ people from the neighborhood, and lately we had to lay off people because of this contract. This contract is no good for small business because the fact is there's no more future. If any one of us, years ago, I come out of Louisiana with a third grade education, and I've successfully run a business for 43 years, so that means the city of Los Angeles at one time was in favor of helping the people that live in the community and within the city. I would like to see this contract broken because it's no good for the city. You have no more competitive people that can bid competitive. Anytime you have one contract, one source, you're going to pay what they tell you to pay. We, as a business people, we encourage people to go out for bid because that means we have a chance. If without the bid, we don't stand a chance. So I would like to see this contract broken, not only for myself, but for all the small business and the minority business in Los Angeles.
Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ken Flippin.
Ken.
All right. I was with the Department of Water and Power for 16 years. I was terminated because I stuck up for a black American. And they brought up charges that were not founded. The discrimination in the water and power is ridiculous. Our supervisors have had pictures of Hussein, also pictures of Hitler in the offices. And when my lawyer tried to bring those up, I was denied those. And also, I am a handicapped person. I was denied handicap parking. I was denied a lot of handicap privileges. I had a suit against the department for a back injury that I had, and I won the suit, and they were supposed to accommodate me, which they never did. Eventually, they tried to fire me when that came up, and then when I was terminated because I stuck up for the black gentleman that I knew. It was all racial. The man that came after me was a man at least 8 or 9, 10 years ago, was brought up on charges for racial comments about a Jewish person. But he still now has been promoted to a dispatcher.
Okay.
The Department of Water and Power has really done injustice to its employees. I have had accommodations with Water and Power, got them free dumping, and I was a truck driver. And I'd done other things, went out of my way for the department, and this is what I got for doing that. I was terminated. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. As Councilmember Cardenas mentioned, this has been considered in the Commerce Committee before, and it will continue to be considered there as we work towards resolution. We thank you for coming and bringing this to the full council's attention, but that committee is going to be doing the bulk of the work here, and we thank you for being here. This concludes general public comment for today's meeting. Madam Clerk, next order of business, please.
Next item, Mr. President, item number 2 is called special for cards from the public.
Yes, item 2 now before us, and the council calls forward Sean, I believe it's Goldstein, followed by Donal Pope. Oh, Mr. Reyes.
Council President, if I may, I'd just like to introduce to the council a guest of ours. His name is Mr. Paul Guile. I'd like to stand, Mr. Guile. He's Operations Security Manager for Two Blinds, which is the equivalent of our MTA. He's visiting from London, England, to view the manner in which we deal with transportation issues and our rail and all of our problems with graffiti. He arrived yesterday at 4 a.m., so I'm glad he's still with us. And I just want to welcome him to Los Angeles and hopefully enjoys his stay here in California. Welcome, Mr. Guile.
Great, welcome to you. Go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Donnell Poppe. I own the firm Permitage, Northridge, California. I'm here representing Sean Gold and Amy Newsinger, who had to work today in regards to a street vacation on Walnut. It's a paper street that's been in existence for about 80 years. And when I began my due diligence, which was about 2 years ago, Public Works had believed that it was, to quote them, a no-brainer that the vacation would be granted. I filed for the vacation process 20 months ago, and here we are now, and we've got a couple issues, and what we'd like to talk about is the likelihood of this street being built. I know no one has a crystal ball. If we all did, we probably wouldn't be working so hard. What I'd like to ask for is that a 20-foot easement be granted, but there's some issues with this piece of property, and this is why Public Works had believed that it was a no-brainer that the vacation would be granted, is that it's a very expensive process to build a street here. We have about a 2-to-1 slope at the rear of the property, and at the bottom of that slope is a natural water course. That is what the paper street, Walnut Street, is. It's a natural water course with a severe slope. So if someone were to come in and build the street, it would be extremely expensive. We don't know what the future holds, so our request is to grant the 20-foot easement to the property owners. If there's any questions, we will be happy to go back to Public Works and address that.
Okay.
One issue with Public Works is they held a hearing on September 24th, and I, as the petitioner, was not noticed. I know we hear that a lot here in council chambers in the ZA's office, that people are not noticed. It's really shocking. As the petitioner, they use the wrong mailing labels. So I have a disadvantage that I was not present at the hearing for Public Works. But our motion is to allow the granting of the 20-foot easement. We're happy to go talk to Public Works. If you feel that at this point that you may grant the easement, we'll negotiate with Public Works, Bureau of Engineering for the development and granting of the easement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Sean Goldshine. Just to recap quickly, we have a paper street behind our house that has been that way for 80 years. We're required to maintain it, and we do, and our children play there, and it's, you know, it's property that, you know, we naturally use. And all we're asking for today is for an easement for us to be able to work out with Public Works what is acceptable to them to make it accessible for a fire department, which seems to be their biggest issue. The other issue for us is creating safety for our kids and the neighborhood kids who play in that area.
If I may add a note, the homeowners have been maintaining this undeveloped area for a number of years. The neighborhood works actively to maintain this area. All of the abutting neighborhoods supported the request for vacation. It does create a problem with parcels being landlocked. That's why our request is to allow an easement rather than the vacation. It's a security issue for the homeowners.
Thank you very much. This
Thank you.
concludes public comment on item number 2. Members wishing to be heard, beginning with Mr. Weiss.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank the folks who came in to speak today. I understand your concerns, and I understand how strongly you feel about this and why you feel the way you do. Ms. Wedham in my office has looked into this extensively, and we've received correspondence and communications from a number of other folks in the neighborhood who do not support a vacation. So I hope you understand that while you have an interest that you see in seeing the vacation go forward, your neighbors do not view it in the same way. Indeed, the city engineer has reported that potentially this would result in landlocking some parcels, and most importantly to all of us here, when we hear from the fire department that they have serious concerns about what the impact this might have on the ability of their emergency vehicles to get through in the event of an emergency, that's a paramount concern for all of us. So I hear what you're saying. I understand why you're so passionate about it, but I really appreciate what Mr. Smith and his committee did here. I appreciate what the staff have done, and I would move the denial of the request. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Other members wishing to be heard? Seeing none, let's open the roll on Mr. Weiss's motion, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Item number 3 was called special for cards from the public.
Okay, and the council calls forward Valinda Wright. Mr. Reyes for another introduction.
Thank you, Council President. I'm on a roll today. We have with us a delegation from China, the city government of Tianjin, and they're about to leave. Just wave your hand and thank you for joining us here at City Hall. But they've been waiting all morning. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Is Valinda Wright still with us? If not, then this concludes public comment for item number 3. Are there members wishing to be heard on item number 3? Seeing none, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Mr. President, earlier council had adopted some ordinances, and there were not 12 council members present. Do you wish to reconsider those so that they can be adopted?
Okay. We also have 33 being held for Mr. Zine. If Mr. Zine is ready.
Has it been circulated?
Those-
Substitute motion on 33?
Or can you do it orally?
We want to substitute the motion, and I hope it's been circulated. And
Yes,
ask for
it
an aye
has
vote
been.
on the substitute motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on item 33? If not, let's open the roll on the substitute, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved.
Next item, Mr. President, item number 37 was called special.
Item 37, call special by Mr. Cardenas. And Mr. Cardenas, should we consider 37 and 38 concurrently since it deals with
No,
the same
separate
subject matter?
motions. Those will be handled separately.
Go ahead.
Okay.
We can vote on them separately, but since it's the same subject matter, we can
Okay, I'm
discuss
sorry.
them concurrently.
Yes. I'd like to personally address item 37, which has to do with usurping jurisdiction from the Port of Los Angeles on an issue of a contract with the now former head of the port. The bottom line is the place and time for the substance and discussion and having the port representation here is in fact before the policy committees, and the Commerce Committee is the appropriate place for this to be discussed and to be vetted out. At that time, we will follow up with any requests by any particular council members or anyone who on this council who would like to recommend or request that we have certain people there. Certain people can be questioned. We also always invite and allow council members to speak, as a matter of fact, first and foremost on the agenda if they would like to personally address any issue at hand before our committee. So with that, I'm saying that we need to move item 37 forward. Thank you.
Ms. Miskowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I think one of the few council members who did not sign either motion, I rise in support of Mr. Cardenas and item 37. It's straightforward. It says there are legitimate issues. This should be addressed. And as we do when we normally assert jurisdiction, we send it in our appropriate time frame to the policy committee to vet it, to have the hearings, to look at all that we need to look at. I am going to speak, just because we're in a joint discussion right now, to item 38. And as I had seen the motion in 38, item 38 and some of the elements both in the text of the motion and in the whereases, or the moving clauses, were bothersome to me, and I'll tell you why. I think the item in the text in 38 is judgmental. It uses the word, this agreement is highly suspect and ill-advised. I don't know that we've made that decision yet. Item 37 says, legitimate concerns, let's address them. It doesn't make a judgment. The other elements in 38 that bothered me, in the moving clauses in particular, were the clauses which said that everybody be directed to preserve all documents, records, minutes, etc. It sounds like a court order. It sounds like a prosecuting attorney. It sounds like a grand jury. We are not that. We are a legitimate legislative and policy body that is legitimately, I think, asserting jurisdiction to look into a matter. The item 38 was very, very accusatory in its tone, and I don't know that we need to be accusing it. We need to legitimately assert jurisdiction, look at it, and in the outgrowth of whatever we will do in committee, as we do in every other instance, we will come to some conclusions and some recommendations and either send it back to the harbor or not. But I think that between the two, item 37 just clearly speaks to our Section 245 and a reason to legitimately look into something, look into it, get it to committee and back. And I'm not ready to assert the items that 38 speaks to, which make judgments in a very definitive, as I say, accusatory or prosecutorial tone that I don't think is yet indicated. 37 gets us to the heart of the matter to make that decision at a later date.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Miskowski. Members, let me announce the following. Number one, we have at least 3 or 4 council members on the queue waiting to be heard, including Ms. Hahn, Mr. Zan, Mr. Villaraigosa. I'm also in receipt of some speaker cards, and so I think at some point we should open this to a brief public hearing. Mr. Villaraigosa, you authored item 38. I'm happy to give you time to speak on it now, and then we'll hear from members of the public, and then we'll return for the balance of the council discussion.
Yes, Mr. President, members, I want to thank Mr. Cardenas and Weiss and everyone who signed on to our motions, who share similar concerns with the contract that was approved by the Harbor Commission and believe that this matter warrants the council asserting jurisdiction. I would offer that the motion, as represented by item 38, be a friendly amendment to Mr. Cardenas's motion, and let me tell you why. The motions differ, as was said earlier, on a couple of points. One, the item 37 merely refers this matter to Commerce and Energy and Natural Resources. Item 38 would refer it to personnel as well. As you know, this is a personal services contract that was extended to a former employee, an employee who left under fire, was not given a severance, and this matter, I believe, should be appropriately sent to personnel as well. In addition to that, as was stated earlier, this motion also calls for the preservation of all records associated with the decision to award this contract for personal services and a retrieval of those records by the city clerk. I can tell you, after conferring with the city attorney, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, prohibiting this council from making that kind of request. That is not just the function of a U.S. attorney, a city attorney, or a district attorney. In point of fact, this council has every right to request those documents, where those documents can give us some understanding about the underlying decision that was made here. And finally, yes, it's true that this proposal expresses concern with the manner in which this award was handled, because no information was made available to the public concerning the proposed contract. So I think that these both motions are important, because what they do is they agree that we should assert jurisdiction. Mine goes beyond that, assures that we get to review this in personnel, that we get the appropriate records, and that we express the concern that we have regarding the manner in which this was held. I would specifically, though, if there was a concern about expressing concern, I would say that the first two items, where the differences are, that this go to Personnel Committee and that we preserve the records, and the city clerk retrieve those records, that those two items be made friendly amendments.
Okay. We need a concurrence from the other author on that. Let's comment on that, and then we're going to go to public comment.
If it's appropriate at this time, I appreciate and respect Councilmember Villaraigosa's request, but I do not see it as a friendly amendment. I do not concur.
Okay. Well, is there a second to Mr. Villaraigosa's motion? Okay, then we'll vote on that separately. Let's now turn to speaker cards, and the council calls forward Noel Park, followed by Janet Gunter, Bonnie Christensen, and Ms. Sylvia Lynn Hawkins. This is items 37 and 38.
Good morning. Thank you for taking up this issue. I think that our concern, well, we have many concerns, as you know, with the management of the port. I'm sorry, my name is Noel Park, and I'm the president of the San Pedro and Peninsula Homeowners Coalition. This personal services contract, we just failed to see the need for this. I think Councilman Zine hit the nail on the head. He said, what are they going to market? As I understand it, there's a constant flow of ships waiting to dock. I was walking my dog at Point Fermin Park Sunday, and I commented to my wife that it looks like the D-Day invasion fleet moored out there off the harbor. There's the berth 206 through 209 Old Matson Terminal property is out for lease now. There are 4 major international shipping companies vying with one another for that lease. They've hired every lobbyist they can find, including but not limited to Ms. Butterfield, Mr. Eck, Mr. Savornich, and Ms. Galanter. And so, I mean, the port is a choke point. There's not enough capacity available to serve the potential demand. They don't need to do this marketing. And so, I mean, if indeed there's a management failure on the part of the port, whereas they had it in contemplation that they wanted to not have Mr. Keller anymore, who in fact served at the pleasure of the mayor, but they failed to do their due diligence. In fact, he was supposed to be evaluated every year, and he's not been evaluated for 3 years, and harbor commissioners were quoted in the press as saying that he's doing a good job, probably out of pique because of the impertinent public complaining about him. And now comes the time they want to get rid of him. I mean, if Mr. Keller came forward with his wrongful termination attorney, I assume he'd have a pretty strong point to make. I mean, if the port came out and said that and said, well, gee, you know, we need to make a deal with this guy, we're going to give him $500,000 and he's going to go home, you know, maybe the community could live with that. But to say this stuff about this marketing is just disingenuous, and the biggest fear we have is that he'll actually do something. I mean, I don't think we need Mr. Keller traveling the capitals of Asia, recruiting more ships to come and moor off the harbor and wait for birds to take up. And so I would just say that I hope that the port is at a tipping point now. There is this somewhat of a change of management going on, and we hope that the council will assert its oversight prerogatives and responsibilities over all of this and make sure that this port is properly managed and that the best quality people are managing the port. And you know, I have a quote from Councilwoman Hahn. This is from the Random Links News of July 26, 2003. Auditors noted that the tone is set at the top, and Hahn agrees. We need new leadership, she says. The tone is fundamentally set by the executive director, but it's an attitude that goes beyond Larry Keller, she explains. We need to get a broom and sweep the department clean. I'd like to see some real change, even beyond the leadership to port staff members, to which we say, amen. So, you know, I just hope that you will take up this issue and that you will take up the Item 38 language as it's somewhat more aggressive in looking into these things. And we need your help to gain proper management at the port. And if I could just, if you'll indulge me for 30 more seconds.
All right, but are those folks behind you indulging you?
As I was laying in bed, never mind. You know what? I won't say it. Thank you.
My name is Janet Gunter. I also am with the San Pedro and Peninsula Homeowners Coalition. The Keller consulting contract is an example of simultaneous, legally unrelated transactions that are a sham. The acronym for this described action would be SLUT. City Controller Laura Chick, in her June 18, 2003 audit of the port's marketing practices, concluded that port marketing decisions are made in the back room rather than the boardroom, without the transparency that would be provided by records. Since Larry Keller was responsible for the management practices that were so severely criticized in this audit, it would facially appear that he would be the least qualified to continue marketing for the port. To say it another way, Keller's marketing would be a confirmation that the port is snubbing its nose at Controller Chick's audit and has no intention of changing its practices. With Christmas coming, we renew our appreciation of the joy of giving, but we cannot find any explanation of why the mayor would make a gift to Larry Keller of Tidelands Trust funds that belong to the people of California. Perhaps it is somehow related to the gift that Larry Keller's former employer, Maersk, made to him. The grant by Maersk of its joint tenancy interest in the Keller family residence is another slut that may not have had any influence on the terms of the Maersk lease of Pier 400. Then again, it may have been influential. The attestation on the deed that documentary transfer taxes were zero marked gift may not mean what it says. We don't know. But we do know that the $108 million of federal funding for the creation of Pier 400 was predicated solely on the purpose of public safety, designated specifically to be the relocation site of hazardous facilities for the protection of local neighborhoods. Since it instead became the single largest container terminal in our nation, exclusively negotiated and leased to Maersk, one is left to wonder. From what we understand, Mr. Keller was recruited by Leland Wong, then president of the LA Harbor Commission. During the creation of Pier 400, Mr. Ted Stein was acting as president of the LA Harbor Commission. It has been said that Mr. Keller also had strong alliances with Mr. Art Gastelum through construction of Pier 400. All of these gentlemen appear to have been subjects of various investigations as of late. Councilwoman Hahn was quoted as saying she wasn't interested in who Mr. Keller was having lunch with. I think that it is incumbent upon this city council to carefully review as much about this contract and as much information surrounding it as possible. That, in my estimation, should include his lunch companions, maybe even dinner, since port deals seem not to have been cut in the boardroom. We do not have the information to determine whether the contracts involve a quid pro quo or, in more local terms, pay to play, nor do we know if it is witness tampering or some other type of obstruction of justice. We agree with the Long Beach Press-Telegram, which stated in its editorial October 16th that if that's legal, it shouldn't be. All we ask the City Council to do is to investigate it as thoroughly as possible and recommend number 38.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
My name is Bonnie Christensen. I'm a board member of San Pedro Homeowners United Association, Incorporated. We have come to understand the workings of the Port of Los Angeles to be reminiscent of a chess game. There's always a next move, often one that can't be anticipated. The move to enter into contract with Mr. Keller less than 1 month after his much sought-after resignation seems to have more to do with legalities than competence, protectionism than professionalism. Mr. Keller's performance review should have to be exemplary in order to justify such an immediate and lucrative contract. Yet the ink on his performance review was barely dry and not yet available to the public when this contract was approved by the Harbor Commission on October 13th. Was Mr. Keller's performance review even considered prior to the negotiations of this contract? One wonders if this service agreement contract was designed to fit the man, or if a need for the service was established and an RFP issued in order to assure that the best person has been selected for the job. Was there an RFP, and where is the need? In addition, we support and prefer option item 38 as we want the most thorough investigation possible. Thank you.
Again, good evening. My name is Ms. Sylvia Lynn Hawkins. I believe there is more time that is needed for this bid on this proposal, dealing with the Board of Harbor Commissioners, Executive Directors of the Port of Los Angeles. I believe that they are not completely organized. The bid must change to meet the market contract. The quality of product cost is very much too high. At this time in the year that we're living in the holiday season and at war, I believe that there needs to be more time in committee meetings, organization, dealing with contractors, subcontractors, and franchises. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. This concludes public comment on items 37 and 38. Our next speaker is Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I want to thank the members of the San Pedro community for coming down here to express clearly what many of us have been saying for a very long time. It's no secret to anybody that I've certainly had my ongoing issues with the leadership at the Port of Los Angeles. I, in fact, was the first one to call for Larry Keller's removal after Laura Chick had her scathing audit about the lack of oversight, lack of good written policies, lack of any cohesive strategy in terms of the leasing policies at the Port of Los Angeles. So it's actually nice to see all my fellow council members finally also paying attention to Larry Keller. Sometimes I felt like I was out there by myself, and I will say that it was a bit surprising to me after it seemed to me to take over 18 months to have him no longer be at the helm of the Port of Los Angeles, to see this consulting contract come back so quickly within a matter of weeks. So certainly I question the timing of this contract. Members, I absolutely agree that we should assert our jurisdiction over this decision. I, however, do also agree with my colleague, Councilwoman Misakowski, that 37 seems to me to be the item that will take this to Commerce Committee and will allow this contract to be scrutinized, will allow the scope of Mr. Keller's work to be laid out before us, where we might then have some serious concerns about some of the things they're asking him to do. I think many people have said, you know, no one questions his ability to market the international shipping industry. Clearly that's been his skills all along. However, the members of the San Pedro community made some good points here. It seems to me like the growth is coming. In fact, without us doing anything, the growth is projected to triple at the Port of Los Angeles in the next 20 years. I think that needs to be questioned. I certainly am not in agreement of the contract talking about things like press conferences and really we questioned his environmental leadership at the Port of Los Angeles. However, I do know that on the other hand, you know, he's if one of his duties is to make sure that the shipping companies that come into the Port of Los Angeles comply with the current environmental policies and with the AMP program, then that's something we can look at. But I certainly want this to come to Commerce Committee. Anybody that's ever watched Tony Cardenas grill anyone on anything knows that we're going to get to the bottom of how this contract was given, the scope that they're planning for him to perform, and whether or not this really is in the best interest of the Port of Los Angeles and the taxpayers of Los Angeles. So one of the things I had concern with 38 was the idea of subpoenaing all the records, the calendar entries, all the appointments, all the documents. I know the grand jury has certainly been investigating what's been going on there for now over a year. And it seems to me that they've been unable to, in a year, come back yet with any definitive judgment on what they have found. I would think that in our limited 21-day that we have in terms of asserting our jurisdiction and making a decision, I would be very surprised if we could get through those kinds of records in a fashion that really gave them credibility. So I think 37 is what I'm going to support. I believe if it comes to Commerce Committee, we will then be able to give the kind of scrutiny, have the explanations that we need to hear before we send it back to the Harbor Commission with our recommendation.
Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would request that we have this heard at a joint committee meeting. If not, then a separate personnel committee. And I'm concerned, coming from the personnel side, the allegations, the issues that have been raised, and this is not the first time that a matter like this has been brought forward, and I would be more than willing to have a joint commerce and personnel meeting to air this out, to resolve all the issues. If not that, then a separate meeting that would be with the personnel committee if the Commerce Committee is not willing to have a joint meeting. But I would propose a joint meeting to have the members of both committees hear it out, resolve the matter, and move forward and come up with the findings. And I think it would expedite the matter along with saving time and not duplicating efforts, because what we hear at personnel, we're going to hear at Commerce, and I would recommend a joint meeting to come up with a resolution to this matter. Thank you.
Mr. Weiss.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's important that we approve these matters that are before us, colleagues, because this contract that was offered in this case raises a whole series of questions. We are talking about an individual who is a witness, a key witness in state and federal criminal investigations. And this is a key witness who left just recently under what can charitably be described as a cloud. We have criticism of him from elected officials and community members, and then the speed with which this commission turned around and offered to pay him $500,000 is absolutely stunning. It's inexplicable, and indeed, it was not explained on the public record. The public barely had a chance to participate and learn about this decision. There was an absence of transparency in the decision, and what we're seeking here, and what especially Motion 38 seeks, is to bring some transparency back to this issue. I have heard Motion 38, item 38, referred to this morning as prosecutorial and aggressive. Members, it is a sad day when asking a public agency for public records and public documents is called aggressive. It's called the right thing to do. Who do people think they work for when they work for the government? They work for the people. And for this body to be able to analyze this $500,000 contract and make decisions about it, the body needs to know, this council needs to know, what the commission knew at the time it acted. That is literally all that is being asked for. It is a legal request. It is an appropriate request. And in a situation like this, where members of the public who've been here, who've raised questions in the Port neighborhood for years and years, have been crying out for openness and transparency. To deny them that openness and transparency today will only raise more questions and raise more red flags about this contract. So I urge you to consider this and to vote for the items in 38.
Mr. Ludlow.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is, I also am one of the individuals that didn't sign on to either one of these motions. I know there are at least two of us that didn't. And as many of you know, over the last week, I've been trying to assist in some way with the effort to look at these two motions. And there are truths on both sides of the equation here in terms of what these motions do and what they don't do. One motion is clearly introduced by the chair of the committee that is pretty broad and speaks to the same issue that the other one does, which is asserting jurisdiction. Both of them have that. The other motion, as colleagues have pointed out, is more aggressive in terms of adding in some language that actually spells out some of the steps that we would be asking taken in terms of documents and so forth. And I guess after having looked at both of these, I also heard Mr. Villaraigosa say, just walked over there to clarify that I understood that what I thought he said, that he did say that he was willing to introduce this or make this a friendly amendment of the other. And so, and I see the clerk shaking the head no. It wasn't friendly, it was an amendment. So well, it was friendly the way he said it. How about that? Colleagues, at the end of the day, we all are equally, I think, concerned about what has happened here. The public is concerned. I know my office has received a number of letters and emails, as many of yours have. The article, obviously, today, in at least one of the papers, is pointing out sort of the public smell test on this issue. It is very, very concerning to me what's happened here. There are a number of probes looking into it, and I think that we as a council ought to agree to assert jurisdiction. I think we ought to put some teeth into this motion. I want to get a little clarity from the city clerk or the council president so that colleagues have a sense of how we're going to vote on these. And so let me just ask the question. Are we going to, as Ms. Misikowski had asked for, we take these two items separately? Is there any downside of council members saying we absolutely agree to asserting jurisdiction, we absolutely agree that we want to see what's happened here, we absolutely want to see some oversight, and so we're voting yes on both motions? What's the downside of doing that? Is there any problem with doing that from a council action level?
At this point, what Mr. Villaraigosa has offered
And if you can hold my time on that.
are considered amending motions, so that'll just be a separate vote on those specific elements. Where the two motions are consistent are the technical assertion of jurisdiction piece. So I don't think it's going to be that complicated, but it is an amending motion, wasn't accepted as friendly, so it's going to require a separate vote. But we'll walk through them one at a time.
Okay. Then just with the balance of my time, colleagues, I don't see anything wrong with this body being aggressive about what we want to see out of the action taken by the port in terms of follow-up on this. I don't see there anything incorrect with our need for absolute clarity. I think the city attorney's points about this being within our purview are germane to the discussion. And I absolutely believe that our Chairman of Commerce will do a fine job of overseeing this process, and I believe that there is merit in having Personnel Committee look at it as a matter of contracting. It may be at the end of the day that the two chairs want to work together on a joint hearing. But I think right now unanimity is important. We ought to send a signal that we're looking for strong oversight, and I don't see there need to be a major disagreement on how this motion reads. So I actually stand in support of both motions and think that they would assist in terms of the public getting a sense that this council is willing to dig deep and look at the tough issues when it comes to such an apparently egregious contracting issue, which is how I personally feel about it.
Mr. Reyes.
I also stand to make very clear that I feel both motions are complementary. I don't see any problem with both moving forward. My only question I'd like to address to the city attorney, in the middle of this investigation, this grand jury investigation, whatever it is, our ability to move in this realm of work, do we have any caution or concerns we should have as a body, given the investigation that's going on now? What should be our posture, if any?
There shouldn't be any concern doing our normal governmental processes in reviewing these contracts. If there are any areas that would prejudice the city's position, we will be there to give our advice.
I just raised that as again, making sure we protect ourselves, our coffers, as we move in our due diligence. But I do want to echo past comments in that there should be an X-ray vision as to what is happening, how decisions are being made, who's benefiting, and are we following the procedures and rules to cover the benefit of, put it this way, public interest, understanding our accountability issues. So I'd like to support those types of efforts and making sure that our committees do their respective roles, perform the respective roles in order to achieve that clarity. And so I don't have any problem seeing both motions moving forward. Thank you.
Mr. Cardenas.
I'd like to clarify that a comment was made earlier that there's a reason to ask that the department not dispose of documentation, what have you. The Brown Act already requires that they do not dispose of such documentation. That documentation is fresh and shall remain there in full view of this particular council or any jurisdiction that chooses to look at that documentation. So I think that's a concern that need not be addressed by a particular motion, because it already is fact, the law imposed upon that department and us by the state of California. Also, the Commerce Committee, I'll say again, will afford ample and appropriate public comment and retrieval of information and scrutiny of the department to shed light on the appropriateness of the board decision that we're usurping jurisdiction on. The reason why I say that again is because it's unfortunate that I have to be redundant, and it's unfortunate that we have, in my opinion, two redundant motions, because the fact of the matter is, in our motions aren't in fact the policy in and of itself. That's why we have policy committees. In the policy committees, we will have the opportunity to bring every person forward that we need to bring forward. We will afford the community, again, the opportunity to fill out comment cards and make their comments again, and bring up new comments and new questions to shed light on this issue. And we do have enough time and enough staff energy to be able to give this the proper and appropriate forum. In addition to that, the reason why I think that these items are redundant is the fact that the council president can in fact respond to any request from any of us or the CLA or what have you throughout this process, once we do usurp jurisdiction, we could refer it to 2 or 3 committees. But with all due respect, let's give the appropriate and proper committee the opportunity to go ahead and scrutinize this and bring forward all the questions necessary. And then if after the fact somebody feels that we did a delinquent job or inadvertently left out some information that should have been brought to light of the public, we can always bring it to another committee immediately thereafter. We can have that committee hearing the following week. We can notice it within a few days. So the bottom line is, with all due respect, if you read both of the motions, one motion is just straightforward saying we're going to bring it to committee and therefore we will lay out all of the questions that we have, and one motion talks about questions or what have you that in my personal opinion do in fact get the attention of the press and others. With all due respect, that's fine. But the bottom line is it is in the policy committee that we're going to talk about the policy matters at hand.
Mr. Villaraigosa.
Would this be the appropriate time where I could move the motion? Yes. I would like to, given that there were some concerns with the body of the motion, what I would like to do is to move items 1 through 5, which are the moving motions, which are the gravamen of it, since folks had some concerns with some of the language that characterizes the decision that was made regarding the personal services contract. So if I could have a second.
So that motion again is moving 1 through 5.
Of the, I therefore moves.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, for clarification, you're moving item number 38, the recommendations 1 through 5?
As an amendment to item 37.
Okay, then you're withdrawing your former motion that was just the recommendations 2 and 4?
Well, given that we're discussing both of these together, I am moving the body of this motion or the directives of this motion to, as an amendment to Mr. Cardenas's motion, item number 37.
So I think for clarity, he's moving the motion clauses without the body of the motion itself, the preamble, if you will, that has caused some people concern. So it's all 5 or 2 through 5, Mr. Villaraigosa, because number 1, I think, is duplicative of what's already in 37.
Yes, 2 through 5.
2 through 5. Okay, is that clear, folks? Is that clear, members? Okay, any other members of the council wishing to be heard at this time? If not, we're proceeding with votes.
I would request a yes vote on that amendment.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
President, I request a no vote on that amendment.
Madam Clerk, first vote, please.
The first vote would be then on item number 37 would be to assert jurisdiction.
Okay, is that clear? The first vote is to assert jurisdiction. Whoa, now Ms. Hahn, Mr. Weiss, Mr. Zine, Mr. Villaraigosa are all back on the queue. Madam Clerk, did that just pop back up? Okay. Then let's proceed with the vote on assertion of jurisdiction. Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, that is unanimous. Jurisdiction is asserted. Madam Clerk,
Okay,
next vote,
the
please.
next vote then would be Mr. Villaraigosa's motion, which would be recommendations 1 through 5 2 through 5.
Okay, is that clear to everybody?
And that is an 8-vote item on the amendment. And that would amend item number 37.
Let's open the roll. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
8 ayes, 5 noes.
Okay, that is approved. Next vote, please.
Then that would be, I believe, the final vote for council to take.
Okay. All right, that concludes items 37 and 38.
Can I clarify what those were? I was just looking for the paperwork. If we handed something out, I didn't see any numbers on the motion at all. Oh, it's on the earlier one. Okay.
Yes, the 38. And what we did was move the directives 2 through 5.
That would be items like 2 through 5 that were on the council agenda.
2 through 5 therefore moves in the original ones?
Yes.
Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
that's what we did.
And also, there was a request from Mr. Zine to have a joint committee meeting.
Okay, we'll leave it to the two chairs of the committees to resolve that. Next item, please.
Next item, Mr. President, the council has motions for posting and referral,
Motion shall be posted and referred.
and there are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Labange requests to be excused Tuesday, November 16th, to arrive at 11 a.m. That meets council policy.
Mr. Labange is excused.
Can I ask a reconsideration on that one? I don't think I was clear on 37.
Okay. Reconsideration
On
of,
38. And do we vote on 37? There's just, I'm sorry, there's just some confusion about whether we also vote on
all right,
37.
folks, members, if I can
Does
ask
one
you all to
trump the other?
please take your seats again. Okay, if we can ask everybody to please take their seats again.
That's wrong.
If we can ask everybody to please take their seats again. Hold on. Ms. Hahn has a question, and then Mr. Garcetti has a question.
Yes, it was my understanding that the first vote we took was to assert jurisdiction. The second vote we took was to vote on the amendments to item 37. That passed. But we never took a vote on item 37 in its entirety.
Madam Clerk?
Yeah, it does matter because
Order, 37, the moving clause was to assert jurisdiction. So we voted on 37, which was to assert jurisdiction. Then we amended it to add the clauses that Mr. Villaraigosa put forward. So we have asserted jurisdiction under 37 with the additional 4 paragraphs.
Mr. Garcetti?
I think we needed a vote on item 37.
So 37 has been subsumed into 38 under
No,
the vote?
there was, first there was a vote on 37 to assert jurisdiction.
Correct.
Then there was a vote on elements of 38 to amend 37 once it had been,
And that was incorporated
once
into
jurisdiction
37.
was asserted.
Okay.
Right. And there's nothing left in 37 to vote on.
I was at the first vote was whether or not we wanted to assert our jurisdiction. And we did. And
We did. That was the first vote.
Right, but then how we were going to assert it, 37 or 38, I don't think we voted on.
We vote, it was 37. The clerk announced 37, and it was
For point
redundant
of
to
order,
38.
37, the moving clause, I therefore move that we assert jurisdiction. That's what we did. The further move in 37 was refer the matter to Commerce and Energy. That
we
was
did.
amended by the action of 38, which says send it to Commerce and Energy and Personnel, and then the other 3 paragraphs. So 37's assertion of jurisdiction was amended by those
For
paragraphs.
reconsideration of that.
Mr. Garcetti, you have a motion for reconsideration?
Yes.
Mr. Garcetti?
Yes, he moved.
Mr. Garcetti? Okay, Mr. Garcetti moves reconsideration on the entire matter? Mr. Garcetti, on the entire matter? On the amending, okay. Members, we have a motion for reconsideration of the amending motion. So the 2 through 5 of item 38 and how it amended 37. Let's open the roll on reconsideration.
On reconsideration.
Roll is open. All members have an opportunity to vote. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
7 ayes, 6 noes.
Okay, that doesn't carry. All right.
Announcement.
Let me take a quick poll here. Hold on. Before we move on. Let me take a quick poll here. Mr. Garcetti, Ms. Hahn, anybody else that had questions as to what was happening as it was happening? Next item, please, Madam Clerk.
Okay. On council excuses, Councilmember Ludlow requests to be excused on Tuesday, November 2nd for personal business that meets council policy.
Mr. Ludlow is excused.
Councilmember Rice requests to be excused Tuesday, November 23rd to arrive at 11 a.m. for personal business that meets council policy.
That excuse is granted as well.
And this is a correction to a previous excuse. Councilmember Hahn requests to be excused Friday, October 29th for personal business. And that meets council policy.
Ms. Hahn is excused.
And that clears the desk.
Okay, members, this is the end of our agenda. Do we have any announcements today? Mr. Labange.
For our city clerk, thank you. On items 12, 13, and 14, forthwith for the Fire Department, Recreation and Parks Department, and Animal Services on those three items, please.
Madam Clerk, please send items 12, 13, and 14 forthwith.
And also, Mr. President, tomorrow, Mr. Garcetti and I will join our Mayor Hahn in Hollywood as we dedicate and groundbreak the new Hollywood City Hall, located at 6501 Fountain Avenue, and following regional city halls throughout Los Angeles. This is another point where our constituents and citizens of this great city could go and get city services. The public is invited, and Mr. Garcetti and I will hurry down from Hollywood safely within the limits of the law to get here to council tomorrow. But we're going to have our groundbreaking tomorrow at 9 a.m. Hollywood City Hall, 6501 Fountain Avenue. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. And if you're anywhere near one of those red line stations, there's a government center exit that may make it quicker for you to get here. Other announcements, Mr. Ludlow.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to remind everyone in the 10th District that tonight there's a Halloween party at the Jim Gilliam Senior Center. You have to be 50 years of age or older to get in. It's free for the community. Also wanted to say that this week is the grand opening week of the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center. Today is Seniors Day, so we're inviting all seniors to come this morning. It was a beautiful, beautiful performance by the Rick Perkins Trio, and later today we have Linda Hopkins performing. Tomorrow is Kids Day, all day. Kids from neighborhood schools are coming in. Then on Friday is a grand opening black tie gala. All of the colleagues have been invited to that. Saturday is Community Day. And we're inviting block clubs, neighborhood councils, neighborhood watches, and every neighborhood group in the 10th District to come and enjoy this grand opening week. And then, of course, next week, the Cultural Affairs Department takes over running the facility, and it'll be open to the entire city of LA for ongoing performances. We want to finally encourage everybody to work towards a safe weekend. We have Halloween on a Sunday. I want to thank the LA Police Department for the work they're doing to try to get the words out to parents and schools about the importance of public safety on Halloween night. Thank you.
Other announcements? Ms. Hahn.
Thank you. I'm very happy to announce that my second granddaughter was born on Sunday to my daughter Katie and her husband John. Brooklyn came into the world at about 3:15 on Sunday afternoon, weighing in at 9 pounds, 9'1". It was very exciting. My daughter let me be present for the birth, so it was really one of the most amazing miracles to be there when my granddaughter was born. She's happy, she's healthy, and so is everybody else. And her older sister, McKenna, who's only 16 months old, is, at this point, seems to be still happy with it.
Very good. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Ms. Hahn. That's why you're wearing pink today, isn't it?
That's right.
Other announcements? Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. Tonight at the Lincoln Heights Senior Center, we're having a Northeast linkages study. We invite the whole community to participate. We are studying how we can improve the Northeast area with the issues of transportation, circulation, with many exciting projects evolving around the Avenue 26, Lincoln Heights Cypress Park Rail Station, around the French Avenue Station. This is a time in which we can hear from the community directly in terms of how they want to see their environment evolving, the changes that are needed so we can participate and compete in the federal funding process throughout the year. So we invite everyone to the Lincoln Heights Senior Center, the Northeast Linkages Studies, to help us put together our strategy and planning for our improvements in the Northeast area. Thank you.
Thank you. Other announcements? Other announcements? If not, please rise for adjourning motions. Adjourning tributes. Mr. Reyes.
Yes, I'd like to adjourn in the memory of Salvador Gomez III, age 27. He was killed on the afternoon of Thursday, October 21st, while standing on 8th Street in the Jefferson Park area. What is to believe to have been a drive-by shooting. He was the son of Salvador Gomez Gocha Sr., who many of you know as the executive director of the Salvadorian American National Association, SANA. Ironically enough, Salvador Sr. brought his family to the United States about 2 decades ago in a 24-day journey to flee the dangers of war in El Salvador. Salvador Sr. recalls one of his finest days was sharing the news that the city of Los Angeles had finally declared August 6th to be the day of the Salvadoreño with his son. Salvador III lived his entire life in the Jefferson Park area. At the age of 17, he returned to El Salvador to study, among other things, Spanish. He lived in Riverside and was survived by his wife, Alicia, and his daughters, Emily, Amy, his sister, Amelia, mother, Cecilia, and father, Salvador Sr. May he rest in peace.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ask that we adjourn in the name of Beverly Stern, once a resident of the 12th District who did move out, but her daughter and family, Maxine Simon, still lives in the 12th District. She was very active in community affairs, as is her daughter still. She's survived by her husband, Norman Stern, her sons, Jeffrey and Michael, and daughter, Maxine Simon, and 2 grandchildren.
Other tributes? Members ask that we also adjourn in memory of Victor Amador, younger brother of a friend of mine, Robert Amador. The family's from Bell. Victor died in a tragic car accident just this last Friday morning. Services will be at Forest Lawn in Long Beach Wednesday evening, and the funeral on Thursday at noon. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Thank you all very much. This meeting is adjourned.
You are watching LA City View, Channel 35. Your city, your channel.